That's ridiculous. That's amazing. And seeing Brando doing it with this, the lighting and the, I mean, you gotta marvel at the genius of the scene, right? You have to marvel at the genius of the scene, right? It's not that these men are inhuman. It's not that these men are monsters. We immediately want to disassociate ourselves from the monster, right? I'm not like him. We dehumanize the monster. We dehumanize the villain. We dehumanize the other. We dehumanize them. Insofar as we dehumanize the villain, the monster, we disassociate them from us. Because we recognize that if we don't dehumanize them, then I have a potential, just like they had a potential, to be that grand disaster of a human being. I can, with all of my existence, be the killer. I can be the mental sociopath, psychopath, dominating force in the world. You can be that too. You can also be good, right? It's not that, how is it that someone can go out there and do all of these heinous acts and then come home and be the greatest dad in the world? And be the greatest father, and be the greatest husband, and be the greatest lover, and be the greatest this or that, right? Because there isn't a real contradiction. It's only the appearance of a contradiction. Again, why I love Pac so much, right? The rappers nowadays, they live it on their sleeves. It's so disgusting. Money, 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 money. That's all they talk about. That's all they sing about. The music now in hip hop is just, or if it's all sex, 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 smack it, flip it, rub it down, I'm sex fiend, whoa, that's what I'm doing. I'm all about that. And you hear it song after song after song after song, and you're just like, oh, this is garbage. This is horrible. What is the state of affairs, right? I am nostalgic. I am old school, but I love to try and wrap my mind around a dude who can write something like Brenda's Got a Baby and then talk about Biggie and Faith Evans as, yeah, nigga, I fucked your wife. I think that's what he says, right? Pardon my French. But how could you be both of those people? How could Pac be both of those people? So caring, so sensitive, so concerned, make such a profound track, right? Brenda's got a baby, Brenda's barely got a brain, Damn shit. It's like, how could you empathize with the plight of the single young woman in the urban community and give such a great voice to her plight, and in the same sense talk in such misogynistic terms about another man's wife and use her as a pawn to really jab him? I never cared about her. I used her in order to get back to this dude. I mean, how could you be both those people? Because we are both those people. Because we are the fathers, we are, as they say. And then I realized the genius, the will. It wasn't that I didn't care for these children when I hacked off their arms with machetes. It's not that I didn't care for them. You would have to think that I didn't care for them. This would be the Vietnamese. It's not that I didn't care for them. I don't want your medicine. I don't want your help. I don't need your help. I don't need your pity. I don't need your empathy. I don't need your concern. I don't need you to take care of my people. I don't need you to take care of my village. I don't need you. I don't need you. There's no handouts here. There's nothing I need from you. We don't want what you have to offer us. And I'm going to demonstrate that we don't want what you have to offer us. Machetes. Everybody. Machetes. 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 And you go up to each of those kids. Right, this is a fiction, but you can imagine. One arm after the next. One arm after the next. Out of love. Such a barbarous act. Out of love. It's a heinous act. Right? Kurtz is not saying it's not a heinous act. He recognizes the horror. The last words he says before he dies, right? The horror. The horror. He recognizes the horror in the act, but he also recognizes the genius of the act. And the act isn't an act that's motivated by sadism. It's not a sadistic act. It looks as if it were a sadistic act, but it's not a sadistic act. The act is itself an act of defiance. It's an act of independence. It's an act of differentiating and demarcating dependency. I don't need anything from you. There's nothing you have that I want. There's nothing you have that I need. I don't want anything from you. I don't want a handout. I don't want pity. I don't want anything. I can do this on my own. I can take care of my own. Right? There is a genius, as he says, a diamond bullet to the head. Right? There is genius in that act. Last bit, he says, you have to have men who are moral and at the same time who are able to utilize, operationalize, put into motion, right, their primordial instincts to kill without feeling, without judgment, because it's judgment that defeats us, right? It's the moral judgment, the condemnation, the thou shalt. Right? It's the moral judgment that defeats the individual. If I have legal sanction to perform X, many of you won't perform X even with legal sanction because you are morally incapable. The system of control has rendered you incapable of performing such action. Despite legal sanction, you can imagine on some James Bond, a license to kill, to be cliche. But despite the fact that you have a license to kill, you, the assassin, won't perform that act because of some moral impediments. Well, you don't make a good assassin. Right? You can imagine in another sort of fictitious spy thriller movie, and I love, on a side note, I love spy movies and stuff. You can imagine the femme fatale. And we haven't had a really good femme fatale in a long time. I just saw Girl with a Dragon Tattoo. It was pretty good. But, you know, it would be cool to see a femme fatale. It is cliche. All of this is cliche. But the woman who recognizes that she can use her body in order to get what she wants. Oh, she's a slut. She's a whore. She slept her way to the top. If there's power in your body, and you recognize that there is power in your body, and you can get what you want out of life by utilizing primordial desire in others to have your body, you really need to understand what Nietzsche's saying. He's saying, well, you might not do it, but don't think that the woman next to you won't do it. She might use and utilize her body in order to get power in this world. And those who recognize that she's the type of person that will do it, they're gonna participate in this gameplay. They're gonna absolutely participate in this gameplay. And you can say that it's immoral till the cows come home. It's not illegal, thus no harm, no foul. It's a game of chess, not checkers. It really is. Right? So there is a sense in which you have to, according to Nietzsche, and the reason why I'm spending so much time on this is because I just absolutely love this bit in Nietzsche. It's just amazing to me. And I think Apocalypse Now is a great way of seeing what Nietzsche's saying in an abstract sense unfold in something that's easily digestible, right? There is a sense in which you have to recognize what it is that's primal about you. And only you know what's primal about you. I know what's primal about me. You don't share the primal because it's bad, in a sense, right? I recognize that it's socially maybe reprehensible. Some of the thoughts, some of the desires that you have. A lot of us are filled with bloodlust, right? A lot of us are filled with just lust. A lot of us are filled with self-destruction and self-destructive tendencies, right? There's a reason why they have the name Suicide by Cop, right? I want to go out, but I want to go out in a blaze, right? That could be someone's mania. That could be someone's obsession, right? That is apparently people's mania and people's obsession, right? Especially in the context of the world that we live in now. The idea isn't whether the actions are moral or immoral. It's the fact that individuals will recognize and utilize that primordial instinct in order to attain more power. I am a weak person physically, but you know what? I can be more powerful if I show them how powerful I can be. And you can see how this can manifest in something that really is diabolically horrible, horrifying, right? And I can't really say in a Nietzschean sense that it truly is, but what most people would say is a horrible, horrible atrocity. But then, as the Colonel was saying, we can see how you can operationalize this, how you can utilize this, how you can grant sanction to individuals who don't have the mental, moral impediments that others might have, and utilize that. So, as he says, if I had 10 divisions of these men, this would be over a lot quicker.